Legislation Committee is because, Mr. Speaker, there are 4 important traffic regulations and rules that are being introduced. And these rules, Mr. Speaker, will affect our daily lives. Mr. Speaker, these rules, if we don't consider them at the Senate level, if we don't consider them properly, they will pass without us having looked at them properly. Mr. Speaker, the traffic school transport rules 2026 that have been proposed will make more cost added to parents, because it is proposed that more people be employed in every school transport. It is proposed in those regulations, Mr. Speaker, that the buses are going to be fitted with more electronic gadgets, which will mean more money spent on school transport. And Mr. Speaker, we need to hear parents, national parents associations, so that they tell us what they think about these proposed amendments. Mr. Speaker, the traffic motor vehicle inspection rules 2026, they require, Mr. Speaker, that every car in Kenya that has more than 4 years will have to undergo an inspection every 2 years, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, we know, for example, the rule is that we do not import cars into Kenya which are older than 8 years. But, Mr. Speaker, now, these regulations that are being brought, they are saying every car that is 4 years will have to undergo inspection. As it is now, Mr. Speaker, the only vehicles that are undergoing inspection are the vehicles that are matatus or commercial vehicles, government vehicles, and these vehicles that carry school children. Now, every person who has a vehicle must undergo government inspection. Mr. Speaker, we want to hear what the people of Kenya have to say. And we want people to come and make their presentations before the Committee of Delegated Legislation. Mr. Speaker, if we don't get this extension, what it means is that these regulations will come into operations by operation of law without the people of Kenya having been heard. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm just putting the context before the House that they approve for us the extension of time so that Kenyans who have not come before the committee can come and be heard. And, Mr. Speaker, while I am still on this floor, we want to urge the Inspector General of Police. We have heard that they are trying to start enforcing these regulations even before they have gone through the processes within the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I urge them not to try and enforce inspection of vehicles which are over 4 years, because those regulations are not yet passed. And I know the people of Kenya will have a lot to say about them. So, Mr. Speaker, I am urging the House to grant this motion for extension of time so that we can be able to hear all the stakeholders. So far, we have had a few of them, but the time is not with us, and we are going into recess, and we need to do preparation and tabling this report in good time. So, Mr. Speaker, I urge the House to approve this motion, that we extend the time for consideration of and hearing of stakeholders before these rules are adopted or rejected by the committee. Mr. Speaker, with all so many remarks, I beg to second. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All the senators, all the majority leader, honorable senators, I propose the question that aware that the traffic school transport rules 2026, legal notice number 11 of 2026, the traffic and drink driving rules 2026, legal notice number 12 of 2026, the Traffic Motor Vehicle Inspection Rules 2026, legal notice number 13 of 2026, and the National Transport and Safety Authority Operation of Commercial Vehicles Regulations 2026, legal notice number 14 of 2026 were tabled in the Senate on 26 February 2026 and referred to the Select Committee on Delegated Legislation for consideration pursuant to Section 112(1) of the Statutory Instruments Act. Cognizant that pursuant to Section 15(1) and 2 of the Statutory Instruments Act, the committee is required to consider the regulations and make its determination within 28 sitting days after the date of the referral of the instruments by the Senate, which period will lapse on Tuesday, 2nd June 2026. Aware that Section 15(3) of the Statutory Instruments Act provides that by a resolution, Parliament may extend the time for consideration of a statutory instrument by a period not exceeding 21 calendar days. Noting that the committee requires additional time to hold meetings with the key stakeholders, including the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport. Now, therefore, the Senate, pursuant to Section 15(3) of the Statutory Instruments Act, resolves to extend the timeline for the consideration of the Traffic School Transport Rules 2026, legal notice number 11 of 2026, the Traffic and Drink Driving Rules 2026, legal notice number 12 of 2026, the Traffic Motor Vehicle Inspection Rules 2026, legal notice number 13 of 2026, and the National Transport and Safety Authority Operation of Commercial Vehicles Regulations 2026, legal notice number 14 of 2026, for a further 21 calendar days to enable the committee to conclude its consideration on or before Tuesday, 23rd June 2026. Now, there are members interested to contribute to this motion. Senator Kajwang.
No, but you move for 15 minutes.
This is a house of debate. You must be patient. When members want to say something on a matter that interests them, you should give them that opportunity.
Mr. Speaker, I think it is fair, even though this is a procedural motion, ideally this is not a procedural motion. When you're extending time that is prescribed in your standing orders, it is no longer procedural. It is substantive, Mr. Speaker, because there's a reason why those timelines were put in place. Whereas I rise to support the request, because I know that the chair of this committee is a man of good intentions, and I know that the seconder of the motion is also a man of good intentions. The only reason why I've risen, Mr. Speaker, is that there is a problem when it comes to delineation of the role of the national government and county government when it comes to traffic control and management. Mr. Speaker, my committee has just returned from a visit to South Africa. And while in South Africa, we sat with the Public Accounts Committee looking at the books of one of the metropolitan cities. Mr. Speaker, it emerged that in that metropolitan city, the leadership decided to turn off the instant fines, and as a result, the municipality lost 2 billion rands. You can imagine how much money that is. That is almost 18 billion Kenya shillings, lost through instant fines that have been turned off. Mr. Speaker, I rise to point this House, or raise the attention of this House, that the fourth schedule of the Constitution gives to county governments the responsibility of county transport, including traffic and parking, street lighting, public road transport, etc. Mr. Speaker, when NTSA comes up with assigns the national government transport and communications, including road traffic, Part 2 assigns county governments county transport, including traffic and parking. Let us not encourage a situation where the national government monopolizes issues to do with traffic, issues to do with transport, issues to do with parking. And I hope that the chair of this committee will scrutinize these regulations and ensure that the national government is not taking away. Mr. Speaker, instant fines collected within Nairobi County ideally should go to the county revenue fund rather than to the national fund. That is a situation in other countries with similar devolved structures. And Mr. Speaker, if the governor of Nairobi could just implement an instant fine system in this county, Nairobi County would be able to pay all its obligations. Nairobi County will not even have to rely on national disbursements for it to continue operating. So I hope that we are not just ticking boxes. I hope that we are going to annul any regulation that attempts to take away the power of county governments. And I hope that the Council of Governors will come out strongly to ensure that we defend their territory as provided for in Part 2 of the 4th schedule. Mr. Speaker, I support the extension with that guidance to the committee. Thank you.
Very well, Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also rise to support the motion to extend the time for these particular regulations. And you cannot, Honorable Speaker, from what the chair and the second, who seconded the motion, Honorable Speaker, that because as Kenyans we are used to do a lot of litigation. It's like our second job is to go to court. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, Honorable Senators, there is no other senator wishing to contribute. Before I give them over to reply, let me make this communication. This communication is on the visiting delegation of teachers and students from Kuene Girls Secondary School in Meru County. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of a visiting delegation of 4 teachers and 58 students from Kuene Girls Secondary School in Meru County. The delegation is visiting the Senate for an academic exposition. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation and wish them a fruitful visit. Thank you. Honorable Senators, Kuene Girls is a school that I served as the ADMP for 10 years. It's a school that is really doing so well in academic work. And since my neighbor, the Tharaka-Nithi senator, is around, I am giving him the opportunity to welcome the visitors from Kuene Girls, a school in my county.
Thank you.
Which I hold dearly.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me join you in welcoming in Kuene. Kuene Girls Secondary School is one of the best performing schools currently in the entire Meru and Tharaka-Nithi region. We are proud of you as a region, as a country. I think this time around we will have some opportunity to interact with the big names in this country, the likes of so many senators many you have been hearing on TV and maybe in the media. This is the house of reason we are here. We are the upper house, and I'm happy that you have found time to come and join the senators. You can see your senator is sitting on the helm of today's speaker. He's the deputy speaker of this the Senate. And I'm happy because I can see some future leaders among the students. I can see senators, I can see governors, I can see all sorts of leadership in this conversation. So in this respect, we welcome you. And I hope once you are done with our today's engagement, we shall have an engagement once you are out of this house. You're most welcome.
And say hey to the parents once you go home. There is no difference between Tharaka Nithi and Meru County. Actually, we are just one people. Only that administratively we come from different jurisdictions. I come from Tharaka Nithi County, where your senator is my very good friend, and Tharaka Nithi and Meru is just one or the same. Thank you very much and most welcome. Viewpoints and teachers from Kwene. I know of quite a number of students from my home county in Kwene, especially from Tharaka constituency where I come from. Thank you.
Now, Chair and the registration, you can proceed and reply.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I want to thank all the members who have made some very positive contribution towards this extension of time. The reason as to why, Honorable Speaker, we are seeking for extension is purely to make sure that we have thoroughly scrutinized these regulations. We want to invite all the stakeholders. We want to invite, because these are very sensitive regulations. We have 4. The driving rules regulation, the school transport regulation, and we have also I think there are about 4, and I'm happy that the chair, the chair Chipak has just captured quite a number of issues that this committee is supposed to look at, and that is why we are, Honorable Speaker, and I'm happy that the members have agreed that this committee should be given some further 21 days to make sure that we thoroughly scrutinize these regulations so that we can bring every stakeholder on board. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I am back to reply.
Clerk, can you confirm that we have a quorum so that we can put the question? And this is a voice, yeah, we do. And also, members, this matter does not concern counties, and therefore, I now put the question. Minority leader, you can't just walk like you are walking in the streets of Kilifi County. Just have your seat, because you are... Okay, Honorable Senators, I put the question that aware that the Traffic School Transport Rules 2026, legal notice number 11 of 2026, the Traffic Drink Driving Rules 2026, legal notice number 12 of 2026, the Traffic Motor Vehicle Inspection Rules 2026, legal notice number 13 of 2026, and the National Transport and Safety Authority Operation of Commercial Vehicles Regulations 2026, legal notice number 14 of 2026 were tabled in the Senate on 26 February 2026 and referred to the Select Committee on Delegated Legislation for consideration pursuant to Section 12.1 of the Statutory Instruments Act. Cognizant that pursuant to Section 15.1 and 2 of the Statutory Instruments Act, the committee is required to consider the regulations and make its determination within 28 sitting days after the date of referral of the instruments by the Senate, which period will elapse on Tuesday, 2nd June 2026. Aware that Section 15.3 of the Statutory Instruments Act provides that by a resolution, Parliament may extend the time for consideration of a statutory instrument by a period not exceeding 21 calendar days. Noting that the committee requires additional time to hold meetings with the key stakeholders, including the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport. Now, therefore, the Senate, pursuant to Section 15.3 of the Statutory Instruments Act, resolves to extend the timeline for the consideration of the Traffic School Transport Rules 2026, legal notice number 11 of 2026, the Traffic Drink Driving Rules 2026, legal notice number 12 of 2026, the Traffic Motor Vehicle Inspection Rules 2026, legal notice number 13 of 2026, and the National Transport and Safety Authority Operation of Commercial Vehicles Regulations 2026, legal notice number 14 of 2026 for a further 21 calendar days to enable the committee to conclude its consideration on or before Tuesday, 23rd June 2026. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Now, honorable senators, we are going back now to order number 7, which is questions and statements. Clerk.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Senator Veronica Maina. Sorry, but you have that first priority because of reasons better known to me.
Yes, yes. I understand, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is a request for a statement on the discovery of 2 unidentified bodies of children in Kiama River, Gatanga constituency. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations on a matter of county-wide concern regarding discovery of 2 unidentified bodies of children in Kiama River, Gatanga constituency on 10th May 2026. Preliminary reports, Mr. Speaker, sir, indicate that the victims are a boy who was found without any clothing, estimated to be approximately 14 years old, and a girl estimated to be between 5 and 9 years old. The identities of these children remain unknown, and the circumstances surrounding their deaths are shrouded in mystery. In the statement, the committee should address the following. Number 1, the current status of the investigation into the deaths of the 2 children, including whether a post-mortem examination has been conducted to determine the cause and approximate time of death. Number 2, the immediate steps taken by the National Police Service to facilitate the identification of the deceased children, including whether the police have conducted systemic matching of reports of missing persons within Gatanga and neighboring constituencies. Number 3, the steps being taken to enhance security patrols along the Kiama River, the broader Kiriaine location and Gatanga constituency at large to reassure residents of their safety. Number 4, the mechanisms in place to assist the affected families once identified and to provide psychological support to the community members who discovered the bodies. Senator Veronica Maina. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well, Senator Ali Hibla Mloba.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek statement from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the matter of inter-county concern regarding administration of county pension fund. Honorable Speaker, in the statement, the committee should address the following. 1, the information system in use for management of the county pension fund and related administrative affairs. Number 2, the current number of pension contributors under the fund and whether the contributors receive regular account statement and other updates relating to their accounts. Number 3, whether any part of the pension fund have been invested in construction projects, and if so, obtain details of the performance of each completed project, progress of ongoing projects, and any external financing arrangement related to these projects. Number 4, the nature of other investments from the pension fund, along with evidence that the investments are viable and that adequate measures have been put in place to safeguard against potential losses. Number 5, the measures in place to protect members' contribution from mismanagement and corruption and to guarantee that contributors receive their dues upon retirement or formal withdrawal. Signed, Senator Ali Ibrahim Roba Mandera. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, very well. Senator Consolata Wakwabubi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on a matter of national concern regarding teenage pregnancies in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, Kenya recorded over 232,000 teenage pregnancies in 2025. Busia County has recorded over 65,000 cases, making it one of the most severely affected regions, followed by Nairobi, 14,291, Kakamega, 11,630, Nakuru, 10,934, Bungoma, 10,444, among others. This crisis threatens education, entrenches poverty, and strains healthcare systems. Beyond a public health emergency, it poses a labor and economic challenge that will affect national productivity and stability for decades. It undermines girls' education, limits their future participation in the workforce, and perpetuates circles of vulnerability. In their statement, the committee should address the following. 1, the socio-economic, cultural, and systemic drivers behind teenage pregnancies across the country, including actions taken to mitigate the trends. 2, the effectiveness of current interventions put in place to review school reentry policies, adolescent health programs, and child protection frameworks, including the gaps identified in enforcement and resource allocation, particularly in ensuring teenage mothers continue their education without stigma or discrimination. 3, the perspectives of stakeholders, including local leaders, educators, healthcare providers, parents, and the affected teenagers, on the scale and impact of the crisis, with emphasis on how teenage pregnancies disrupt education and limit future opportunities. 4, how teenage pregnancies are affecting school completion rates, labor force participation, productivity, and long-term economic development, with recommendations for policy reform that safeguard both education and livelihoods. Senator Consolata Okwabubi, MP, nominated Senator. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next is Senator Alexander Mudigi.
Mr. Speaker, sir, request for statement on the proposed construction of Kandenge Dam. Mr. Speaker, sir, rights person to Standing Order 53-1 to check a statement from the Standing Committee on Energy on matter of county-wide concern regarding the proposed construction of Kandenge Dam in Embu County. Mr. Speaker, sir, while expanding power generation is essential to increasing national grid connectivity, and while dam project can enhance agricultural productivity through irrigation, it is unaccessible for such critical project to proceed without clarity, transparency, and due consideration for the people it will directly affect. In the statement, the committee should address the following: whether the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum will conduct a proper feasibility study to determine the dam's specifications, including its size, the extent of land coverage, and the exact number of families that will be displaced or otherwise affected. 2, the proportion of the local population that stand to directly benefit from the project, particularly through access to irrigation water, and how this benefit will be equitably distributed. Whether Kandenge Primary School is likely to be affected, given that the school lies within the proposed project area, and if so, the immediate measures the ministry has put in place to ensure that any relocation in current out without disrupting running. 4. The compensation mechanism established by the ministry to guarantee proper, fair, and adequate compensation for all affected land owners and residents. Senator Alexander Munyimodigi. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have a second statement. Mr. Speaker, sir, request for statement on the rent completion of the Kamburu water supply project. Mr. Speaker, sir, raise person to standing under 53.1 to check a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources on a matter of county-wide concern regarding the rent completion of the Kamburu water supply project. Mr. Speaker, sir, residents across Embu County continue to endure acute and prolonged water shortages, dispute the allocation of substantial public funds to the project. This situation has raised concern over accountability, the pace of implementation of the project, and the prudent use of public resources in address and uses that directly affect public health, livelihoods, economic activities, and the overall welfare of the people of Embu County. In the statement, the committee should address the following: the current status of the Kamburu water supply project, including the total funds allocated to the project since its inception. 2. The official completion timeline as per the contract approved, budgetary allocation, and detailed account of all funds dispersed to date, including payment made to the contractor. The reason for the delay, any cost variations, implementation challenges encountered, and a clear and revised timeline for the project completion. Senator Alexander Munyimodigi, Senator for Embu County, Daktari.
Senator Chalge, next.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker. Request for statement on the lack of government support for Kenyan skater Kelvin Kiarie. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to request a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on a matter of national concern regarding the government support for Kenyan skater Kelvin Kiarie and athletes participating in emerging and non-mainstream sports disciplines in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, sir, Madam Speaker, Kenyan skater.
You want to decide whether it's Madam Speaker or Madam Speaker, sir, or Speaker, Mr. Speaker, sir?
I will stick with Madam Speaker.
Okay.
Madam Speaker, Kenyan skater Kelvin Kiarie recently won gold and silver medals at the International Skating Challenge in Benin and double gold at the African Skating Championships in Egypt. We congratulate him. These victories were achieved without government sponsorship or institutional support of sports within the athlete, relying on public appeals for financial assistance. His journey reflects a broader problem in Kenyan sports. Individual triumphs in emerging disciplines often occur despite systemic neglect. While Kevin's medals are a source of national pride, they also expose the lack of support for athletes outside mainstream sports such as football, rugby, and sometimes athletics. If Kenya is to sustain its leadership in contemporary sports, and Madam Speaker, it was sad to see the only welcoming person was the wife and children, and sports were never present, any person. It must ensure equitable recognition and support for all athletes,
mainstream and emerging alike. In the statement, Madam Speaker, the committee should address the following. 1, reason for lack of financial, logistical, or institutional support to Kelvin Kiarie by the Ministry of Youth, Sports, Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports Kenya, the Sports Fund, or any other relevant agency. Madam Speaker, sir, whether the government has a policy or framework for identifying, nurturing, and supporting athletes in emerging and non-mainstream sports discipline, including skating. Madam Speaker, the criteria used in allocating sponsorship, funding, and facilitation to athletes representing Kenya in international competitions, and whether these criteria adequately cover emerging sports in the country. Madam Speaker, 4th, details of budgetary allocations and expenditures towards emerging and non-mainstream sports disciplines over the last 5 financial years, including skating and related talent development programs. Madam Speaker, the plans and strategies in place to establish training facilities, talent development programs, and sponsorship structures for skating and other emerging non-traditional sports, policy interventions be considered to ensure equitable support for our athletes, sportsmen and women across all sports disciplines, and whether the government intends to formally recognize and support Kelvin Kiarie and others following his wonderful achievements to Kelvin Kiarie. I thank you, Madam Speaker, without sir.
Thank you, Senator Chirerigei, for finally calling me by the right title. Senator Joyce Korir, you may proceed to present the statement on behalf of Senator Hilary Sigei.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yeah, the statement is on the repatriation of the remains of the Kenyan nationals who died in the plane crash in South Sudan on 27 April 2026. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to the Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations on a matter of national concern regarding repatriation of remains of Kenyan nationals who died in a plane crash in South Sudan on 27 April 2026. Madam Speaker, on the morning of Monday, 27 April 2026, a Cessna 208B Grand Caravan aircraft operated by the CityLink Aviation Limited departed Yei Airport in South Sudan at 9:15 a.m. Central African Time en route to Chupa International Airport. At approximately 9:43 a.m., barely 28 minutes into the flight, air traffic control lost all the communications with the aircraft. The aircraft was later discovered to have crashed, and its wreckage was found approximately 20 kilometers southwest of Juba. South Sudan Civil Aviation Authority confirmed that all 14 passengers on board perished in the crash and were burned beyond recognition. The victims include 2 Kenyan nationals, Captain Francis Lagat Ruto from Chebole in Bomet County, Kipsonoi Sotik constituency, who was the pilot, and Mr. Brian Mwenge from Lurambi constituency, Kakamega County. Mr. Speaker, it is deeply concerning that more than 2 weeks since this tragedy, the remains of the 2 Kenyan nationals have not been repatriated to their families for proper and dignified last rites and burial. In the statement, the committee should address the following. 1, the specific steps taken by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs to facilitate the identification and repatriation of the remains of the Captain Francis Lagat Ruto and Mrs. Brian Mwenge. Secondly, the expected timelines for the repatriation, including the indication of the persons bearing the responsibility for the association's associated cost. 3, whether the ministry has established and maintained a communication channel with the affected families to ensure that they receive timely and real-time updates regarding the identification and repatriation of process, as well as the status of the investigation into the accident. 4th one, Madam Speaker, is whether the ministry has extended the necessary consular support to the next of kin of the deceased Kenyans to facilitate their involvement in the identification and repatriation process. Last one, the diplomatic representation Kenya has made to safeguard the interests of the affected families, including whether the ministry has formally requested the preliminary accident report. From Senator Wakili Sigei, Bomet County. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Joyce Koril. Senator Mwenda Gataya, you have a statement? Okay, proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations on a matter of national concern concerning the status of organization, funding, and infrastructure for newly gazetted administrative units across the country. Madam Speaker, in November 2024, the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, through Gazette Notice number 15341, established 578 new administrative units comprising of 27 sub-counties, 59 divisions, 170 locations, and 322 sub-locations to bring government services closer to the people, particularly in underserved areas. However, many of these units remain non-operational due to inadequate funding, lack of office infrastructure, insufficient staffing, and poor connectivity, thereby undermining effective administration and service delivery, especially in arid and semi-arid lands, that is, ASO counties. In the statement, Madam Speaker, the committee should address the following. The criteria and the framework are used to identify and gazette the new administrative units, including whether financial and operational viability assessments were conducted, and provide a breakdown of budgetary allocations for the year 2025-2026 financial year, indicating amounts allocated, disbursed, and utilized up to date. Number 2, Madam Speaker, the number of newly gazetted administrative units currently lacking physical office and the measures being taken to address the challenge. Number 3, Madam Speaker, the committee should also look at whether there are plans to construct and equip offices for all gazetted units lacking in infrastructure, including timelines for completion. Number 4, Madam Speaker, the committee should also look at the current staffing levels in the newly gazetted units and the measures being taken to ensure provision of adequate personnel. The last one, Madam Speaker, but not the least, the committee should also look at the affirmative action measures being implemented to prioritize funding, infrastructure, and staff deployment to the new administrative units in ASO and other majorized counties. Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is Senator Mwenda Gataya, Mofaya, CBS, MP, Senator for Tharaka-Nithi County.
Thank you, Senator Mwenda Gataya. Senator Alexander Mudiki.
Question 2. Madam Speaker, statement relating to a statement requested by Senator. Madam Speaker, a raised person to Standing Order 56.1 of the Senate Standing Order to make a statement relating to a statement requested by Senator from the Standing Committee on Labor and social welfare. Madam Speaker, at the sitting of the Senate held on Wednesday, 6th May 2026, the Speaker directed the chairperson of the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare to provide a response to the House on statement sought by Senator Fatuma Duro, CBS MP, regarding the unlawful removal of county assembly staff from the payroll and denial of salaries and benefit in Isiolo County not later than Wednesday, 13th May 2026. Madam Speaker, the committee used the respondents to the governor of Isiolo County on 3rd March 2026 and clerk of the County Assembly of Isiolo on 2nd April 2026 to submit response to the statement. Madam Speaker, the committee received a response from the governor of Isiolo County through a letter dated 13th March 2026, which was shared with the senator for consideration and comment. However, the response from the clerk of the County Assembly of Isiolo remained outstanding dispute follow-up on 2022 April 2026 and 7th May 2026. Madam Speaker, the committee remains seized of the matter and shall share a comprehensive report with the Senate and the Senator upon receipt of the response from the clerk of the County Assembly. I'm acting as a chairperson for LIPA, Senator Alexander Munyimondigi. I have another one for LIPA. Can I
proceed?
Statement, Madam Speaker, statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare for the period between February 2026 to April 2026, pursuant to Standing Order 56(1)(h)(b) of the Senate Standing Order. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56(1)(b) of the Senate Standing Orders to make statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare for the period between February and April 2026. Madam Speaker, during the period under review, the committee held a total of 22 sitting, during which it considered 17 statements, 1 bill and 2 petitions. Madam Speaker, in executing its brand mandate, the committee focused on key social and labor matters within its remit, with particular emphasis on occupational safety and health OSHA enforcement, persons oversight and governance, gender-based violence, and farm saint. The committee also hosted a delegation from the Portfolio Committee on Social Development of the Ribombo Legislature, South Africa, aimed at gaining insight into Kenya's approach to GBV, with particular focus on the policy, legal, and institutional framework interventions. The legislative business under consideration by the committee is attached in Appendix 1. Bills. Madam Speaker, during the period under review, the committee concluded consideration of the Public Service Internship Bill 2022, National Assembly Bill number 63 of 2022. The bill established a structured framework for managing internship program in the public sector by standing recruitment. Recruitment, supervision, duration, and compensation of interns. It is actioned on constitutional principles of youth empowerment, fair labor practice, and socio-economic rights, and seek to address existing constituencies in internship administration across public institutions. Statement. Madam Speaker, during the period under review, the committee received 17 new statements that cut across key thematic area of labor relations, social protection, and worker welfare at both national and county levels, including staffing dispute, layoff, recruitment, malpractice, insurance, coverage, unpaid benefit, use of development funds, industrial unrest, and compliance with the labor standards. The committee shared the response received with the senators who requested for the statement and supplementary uses raised were activity followed by with the relevant ministries and agencies. Petition. Madam Speaker, the committee remained seized of two petitions, namely the inaccessibility of public buildings and office by persons with disabilities in Mombasa County, and the winding up and requisition of the Technical University of Kenya Staff Retirement Benefit Scheme. The Technical University of Kenya Staff Retirement Benefit Scheme petition as required sustained and detailed engagement with trustee, sponsoring institution, regulators, and affected numbers. In resources, Madam Speaker, the committee has intensified oversight on occupational safety and health, noting rising workplace accident, unsafe conditions, and gaps in enforcement of safety standards following a recent inspection visit to the construction site at Bomas of Kenya. The committee will undertake further county inspection visit in the next season to strengthen compliance, accountability, and worker protection nationwide. Madam Speaker, the committee is also examining labor immigration recruitment system and the welfare of Kenyans workers both locally and abroad, amid concern of over-exploitation, unethical recruitment, and adequate worker protection. In order to address these issues, the committee is scheduled to meet the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, and the National Employment Authority, NEA, to strengthen labor immigration. Madam Speaker, Senator Alexander Munyimodigi, I'm acting as a chairperson for labor. Thank you.
Senator Veronica. And Senator Veronica, you will read your own statement, and you may proceed to read the one for JLAC.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. I'm reading a request for a statement on the expulsion of female recruits from the National Police College, Kiganjo, on account of pregnancy. Madam Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations on a matter of national concern regarding expulsion of 18 female recruits from the National Police College, Kiganjo, on account of pregnancy. Madam Speaker, the National Police Service based the decision on its existing training regulation and justifies it on account of the physically demanding nature of the police training. This reflects a deeply concerning lack of gender sensitivity and institutional responsiveness towards women, particularly expectant mothers seeking opportunities for public service and professional advancement. Pregnancy is neither misconduct nor incapacity, and motherhood must never be construed as a disqualification from service, leadership, or employment. The expulsion of these young women sends a disturbing and regressive message that women are still expected to choose between their biological realities and their aspirations to serve this nation. Such an approach undermines the constitutional principles of equality, inclusivity, and social justice enshrined under Articles 27, 28, and 41 of the Constitution. The continued implementation of such policies and practices that disproportionately disadvantage women demonstrates the urgent need for stronger gender-sensitive reforms within the National Police Service and across the public service. In the statement, the committee should address the following: the assessment of the legal standing of the provision of the National Police Service training regulation that was the basis for the expulsion of 18 female recruits from the National Police College, Kiganjo, on account of pregnancy, in view of the principles of equality, inclusivity, and social justice enshrined under Article 27, 28, and 41 of the Constitution. Whether the National Police Service has considered adopting gender-responsive recruitment and training policies that reasonably accommodate expectant recruits. Number 3, whether the National Police Service could also consider reviewing other institutional frameworks and administrative policies, including the police standing orders, to ensure alignment with the Constitution and Kenya's international obligation relating to gender equality and women's rights. Number 4, the safeguards in place to prevent discriminatory practice against women within public institutions generally, particularly on the basis of pregnancy or maternal status. Senator Veronica Maina, CBS MP, nominated senator, and also reading this as chair of Kenya Women Senators, having been commissioned by the whole of Kenya Women Senators to offer this statement to ensure that the recruits are given an opportunity to return to Kiganjo after giving birth. Honorable Speaker, thank you once again for the opportunity to present the statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights Committee for the period between 10th February to 30th April 2026, pursuant to Standing Order 56-1B of the Senate Standing Orders. Honorable Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56-1B of the Senate Standing Orders to make a statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights for the period commencing 10th February 2026 to 30th April 2026. During the period under review, the committee held a total of 20 sittings, during which it considered 1 legislative proposal, 3 bills, 1 petition, and 8 statements, and 1 inquiry. The committee also followed up on the implementation of a Senate resolution directed to the committee. Legislative proposals. Honorable Speaker, the committee considered and submitted its comments on 1 legislative proposal, namely the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill 2026, sponsored by Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei, CBS MP. The draft bill seeks to, among others, provide timeline for making of statutory instruments by regulation-making authorities. On the bills, Honorable Speaker, during the reporting period, the committee continued with its consideration of 2 bills to amend the Constitution, namely the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2025, Senate Bills number 13 of 2025, and the Constitution of Kenya Amendment number 2 Bill 2025, Senate Bills number 16 of 2025. The committee also commenced consideration over that bill, namely the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2026, Senate Bills number 7 of 2026. The committee received extensive submissions on the three bills, one of which seeks to implement the two-third gender principle in Parliament, and the other to bar persons who have served as governors from contesting for election as senators or MCAs immediately upon conclusion of their term. The committee will be retreating soon to consider the said submissions and to adopt its reports thereon for tabling in the Senate. On petitions, Honorable Speaker, having dispensed with all other petitions that were pending before it during the last session, the committee considered one petition by Mr. Laban Omusudi regarding the enactment of a legal framework to provide for citizen-initiated recall of the president and county governors. In addition to meeting with the petitioner, the committee invited and received submissions from key state and non-state actors on the proposals contained in the petition. We are scheduled to consider the submissions, following which the committee will adopt and table its reports in the Senate. On the statements, Honorable Speaker, the committee considered 12 requests for statements during the reporting period, comprising 8 statements which were carried over from the last session, as well as 4 statements which were newly sought from the committee. We have adopted a two-pronged strategy to finalize on the said statements, entailing both writing to the relevant agencies, inviting them to respond, as well as scheduling meetings with them on a case-by-case basis to deliberate on the issues arising from the statements. On inquiry, Honorable Speaker, the committee continued with its inquiry into the legal status, indigenous peoples in Kenyans, into what legal status the indigenous people in Kenya are, and expanded this to cover the status and human rights of minorities and marginalized communities as well. I'm happy to report that we held a productive meeting with the National Gender and Equality Commission, as well as the Minorities and Marginalized Affairs Unit at the Executive Office of the President, where we deliberated on these issues. We have scheduled further meetings in the coming month with the two entities, as well as other state and non-state actors, at the end of which we shall prepare our report for tabling and debate in the Senate. On implementation of Senate resolutions, Honorable Speaker, the committee continued with the tracking the implementation of Senate resolutions directed to the committee, including the report of the ad hoc committee on Shakahola, as well as the Senate resolution on the state of the nation. The committee also followed up on the implementation of resolutions contained in reports on petitions. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank your office and that of the clerk for the continuous support accorded to the committee in undertaking its work. I also wish to thank members of the committee for their commitment, diligence in, and insightful contribution during committee activities. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. And our chair of the committee is Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei, and I'm the able vice chair. Honorable Speaker, and just to remind the House, this is the most effective committee of the Senate. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Veronica Maina, that might be a contentious statement. Honorable Senators, just allow me to interrupt the statement for a short while to allow Senator Nyamo to just lay a report on the table of the Senate. Senator Nyamo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today. Report of the Standing Committee on Lands, Environment and Natural Resources on the Forest Conservation and Management Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 38 of 2025.
Senator Cherargei for the statements. Back to the statements.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just to comment on two statements. One is Madam Speaker.
Apologies. Honorable Senators, just hold on. We consult. Yeah. Sincere apologies. It was Senator Mwaruma next.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to go through my statements. I have three. The first one is request for statement on the delayed completion of Mtwamagodi, Mbale, Undanyi, Veruga, Mgange, Bura Road in Taita Taveta County. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing on a matter of county-wide concern regarding the status of construction of the 55-kilometer Mtwamagodi, Mbale, Undanyi, Veruga, Mgange, Bura Road in Taita Taveta County. Madam Speaker, this project was launched and commissioned on November 1, 2021 at a budgeted cost of 2.2 billion and was intended to serve Bura, Ronge, Mgange wards while linking Undanyi Township to the Mwatate Taveta Highway and Bura Ward and the Voi Mwatate Highway at Mtwamagodi. Despite repeated inspection visits by senior government officials, the road remains incomplete. In the statement, the committee should address the following. One, the current status of the project, including the extent of works completed, sections cleared and gravelled, and those upgraded to bitumen standards. Two, the reasons for the delay in completion of the project, as well as expected completion date of the project. Three, whether the road cuts through private land, and if so, the identity of all affected persons and institutions, including the number and sizes of the parcels. Four, the measures in place to compensate the persons affected by the project, as well as the timelines for such compensation. The second statement, Madam Speaker, is on the remittance of staff deductions and other payables by the county government of Taita Taveta. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on a matter of county-wide concern regarding the non-remittance of staff deductions and other payables by the county government of Taita Taveta. Madam Speaker, there has been continued delay and non-remittance of staff payables, including loan repayments to banks and SACCOs, contributions to superannuation institutions, and other contractual deductions due from staff salaries. This has exposed staff of the county government of Taita Taveta to financial penalties, adverse listing by lending institutions, delayed access to benefits, and prolonged uncertainty for the retirees and officers nearing retirement. The continued non-remittance of these obligations, despite deductions having been made from staff salaries, has affected service delivery and caused financial distress among employees of the county government of Taita Taveta. In the statement, the committee should address the following. One, the number and particulars of the institutions owed staff deductions and other payables by the county government of Taita Taveta, including the annual bill and outstanding amount owed to each institution. 2, the total amount of pending staff payables, including but not limited to salaries and allowances disaggregated by category and month from 2024 to date, including reasons for the delay or failure by the county government of Taita Taveta to remit staff deductions and other payables to the respective institutions. 3, the measures in place by the county government to settle outstanding staff deductions and payables, including amounts owed in respect of retired officers and officers nearing retirement. And 4, the administrative or disciplinary action, if any, taken against officers found culpable for negligence, mismanagement, or failure to remit staff deductions and other payables when due. The last one, Madam Speaker, is on employment practices at the Devki Steel Mills manufacturing plant in Taita Taveta County. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism on a matter of county-wide concern regarding the employment practices of the Devki Steel Mills manufacturing plant in Taita Taveta County. In the statement, the committee should address the following. 1, the government's policy or framework on the employment of local residents by private companies in the counties in which they operate, including whether any quota is reserved for the local communities, and secondly, whether Devki Steel Mills plant in Taita Taveta County has complied with that policy. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Senators. Senator Lelegwe, you can read the final statement under Order 53 before we move to Standing Order 56-1.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Request for statement on the status, transparency and disclosure and community benefits of carbon credit projects in Samburu County. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources on a matter of county-wide concern regarding growing concerns over the secrecy or limited disclosure of community benefits arising from carbon credit and carbon market projects operating within Samburu County and other pastoral regions of Kenya. Madam Speaker, while these projects are expanding under global climate initiatives, local communities, the primary custodians of these lands remain largely uninformed about agreement terms, revenues, and long-term impacts on land rights and livelihoods. Despite providing the resources that attract international financing, there is a troubling lack of public disclosure regarding contractual obligations, entered carbon valuation, and the actual percentage of benefits reaching local communities. This secrecy risks the exploitation of indigenous and pastoral communities, elite capture of climate financing benefits, future land injustices, and exclusion of local communities from decision-making processes affecting their ancestral lands. Madam Speaker, in the statement, the committee should address the following. 1, the number, names, implementing entities, ownership structures, and specific geographical location of all carbon credit or carbon trading projects currently operating within Samburu County, including the legal frameworks, duration, and contractual arrangements in respect of each project. 2, the total carbon credits generated and total revenues earned from carbon credit projects in Samburu County since inception, including a detailed breakdown of the actual financial benefits received by the local communities, local communities, community institutions, county governments, intermediaries, implementing agencies, and private entities involved. 3, the measures and procedures used to secure free, prior, and informed consent from pastoral communities before the execution of carbon credit agreements, including whether affected communities were adequately informed and sensitized on the long-term environmental, economic, land use, grazing, and cultural implications of such projects. 4, the reasons for the limited public disclosure and transparency regarding carbon credit agreements, revenue flows, carbon pricing mechanisms, valuation methodologies, and community benefits sharing agreements in Samburu County, despite the projects utilizing community land and ancestral lands. Community and ancestral lands. And 5, the policy, legislative, regulatory, and institutional measures put in place by the government to protect pastoral communities in Samburu County from exploitation, inequitable benefit sharing, and land dispossession, elite capture, and exclusion from decision-making processes within the carbon credit and carbon trading market. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Lelegwe. Now we are moving to statements pursuant to Standing Order 56, 1B. And I want to call the Chairperson, Standing Committee on Energy, Senator Kisang, to make a statement relating to the activities of the committee for the period February to April 2026.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I arise pursuant to Standing Order 56.1b to make a statement on the activities of the Standing Committee on Energy for the first quarter of the 5th session, covering the period commencing 1st January to 30th April 2026. Madam Speaker, during the period under review, the committee held a total of 39 sittings. In this time, it considered and concluded on the ratification of the production sharing contracts and field development plan for blocks T6 and T7 in the South Logichar Basin and commenced an inquiry into the petroleum crisis in the country. Madam Speaker, during the period under review, the committee considered and concluded 4 statements. 8 statements are pending consideration by the committee. Responses on the pending statements have been forwarded to the relevant senators and are awaiting consideration by the committee. 4, the committee examined the petroleum sharing contracts and the field development plan for blocks T6 and T7 in the South Logichar Basin, Turkana County, considered public submissions, engaged key stakeholders, and reviewed technical analysis. It also conducted public participation in Turkana County, West Pokot County, Uasin County, Trans Nzoia County, Lamu County, and Mombasa County, Madam Speaker, capturing the views of the affected communities and the stakeholders. Arising from this process, the committee recommended the fast tracking of regulations for the Petroleum Revenue Fund, the strengthening of the National Oil Corporation of Kenya, the establishment of permanent security along the transport corridor, and the commissioning of a special Auditor General's report on the early oil scheme of EOPS to inform cost control in full field development plan. The committee met with the Principal Secretary of the State Department for Petroleum and received submissions from various state agencies on the 2026 budget policy statement. The committee also considered proposed policies, programs, expenditure ceilings for 2025-2026 budget implementation status, financial and output performance, capital project status, key policy foundations, performance targets, and project allocations. Madam Speaker, key recommendations by the committee on the 2026 budget policy statement, PBS, is that A, the State Department for Petroleum submits to the Senate a detailed status report on the Logichar-Lamu crude oil pipeline, including the current implementation status and justification for continued or future budgetary allocations. B, the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum submits to the Senate a detailed status report on all ongoing energy public-private partnerships, PPPs, projects, highlighting progress, risk mitigation measures, foreign exchange exposure management, and expected completion timelines. And C, the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Energy and Petroleum, should clarify how the proposed sovereign wealth fund policy aligns with Section 57 of the Petroleum Act 2019 and outline the institutional framework for managing petroleum revenues to avoid overlaps and duplications. Madam Speaker, in the previous session, the committee commenced an inquiry into the handing over of a mass cars, cooking cars handling facility to Asharami Energy, focusing on the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum's adherence to legal procedures and engaging the National Treasury on compliance with public-private partnership requirements. 8, the committee also conducted oversight visits in Mombasa County, where it engaged the Kenya Maritime Authority and inspected maritime tanker route to assess oil pollution risk, and in Kisumu County, where it inspected energy and petroleum facilities, reviewed electricity connectivity, noting coverage at 68%, and evaluated progress on street lighting, solar transition, and last-mile electrification. 9, Madam Speaker, in the coming quarter, the committee will conclude its inquiry into the 2015 Kenya pipeline oil spill into River Tange in Makueni County, focusing on environmental and public health impacts, compliance, and remedial and enforcement measures. 10, the committee plans to visit Tana River and Shire County to review power bypass, flooding impacts linked to Kenyan grid and off-grid supply, and preparatory work for the proposed nuclear power plant in Shire County, including safety, stakeholder engagement, and alignment with national planning. 11, further, the committee will steer preparation for the County Energy Forum expected in the course of this year, including a brief conference with the Senate, Council of Governors, county executives, and the County Assembly's Energy Caucus to align county priorities on devolved energy functions, way-leaves, tariffs, clean energy, and intergovernmental coordination. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank your office for the support accorded to the committee in undertaking its work. I also want to acknowledge the Secretariat that the committee has received from the Office of the Clerk. Lastly, I wish to commend the members of the committee for their commitment, diligence, and dedication to the work and mandate of the committee. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Kisang. The next is statement pursuant to Standing Order 56-1B from the Chairperson, Standing Committee on Information, Communication and Technology, to make a statement relating to the activities of the committee for the period February to April 2026. Senator Cherarike, on behalf of the Chairperson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Quarterly statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Information, Communication and Technology for the period between February to April 2026, pursuant to Standing Order 56-1B of the Senate Standing Orders. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56-1B of the Senate's Standing Orders to make a statement for the first quarter of the 5th session covering activities of the Standing Committee on Information, Communication and Technology undertaken for the period February to April 2026. Honorable Speaker, during the period under review, the committee held a total of 15 sittings, which it considered 2 bills, 5 statements, and 1 inquiry. Part A, Honorable Speaker, the committee considered the Electronic Equipment Disposal, Recycling, and Reuse 2025 Senate Bill number 5 of 2025, sponsored by Senator Peris Tobiko MP, which was published via Kenya Gazette Supplement number 67 of 9 May 2025. The bill was introduced in the Senate by way of first reading in the Senate on Tuesday, 23rd September 2025, and subsequently stood committed to the committee for consideration. Madam Speaker, the committee considered the bill taking into account the views and recommendations of the public, and the report is on the progress of being tabled in the Senate. During the consideration of the bill, the committee observed, among other things, that there is need for inclusion of the polluter pays principle and zero waste principle, and the principle of prioritizing the extension of electrical and electronic equipment EEE lifespan over material recovery. These are non-negotiable guiding principles of the national legislation forming the legal basis for the extended producer responsibility system. Honorable Speaker, the committee is currently considering Artificial Intelligence Bill, the 2026 Senate Bill number 4 of 2026, sponsored by Senator Karen Nyamu MP, which was introduced in the Senate by way of first reading on the Senate on Thursday, 2nd April 2026, and thereafter stood committed to the committee for consideration. The bill was advertised, inviting submissions from the stakeholders and the public in 3 newspapers with national circulation. The committee soonest consider submissions received hereon from the public and formulate its report. Madam Speaker, statements. Honorable Speaker, 5 statements wrote from the committee are undergoing consideration. The committee considers statement through physical sittings with the stakeholders and the respective senators who made the request, while in other instances received written submissions and shared the responses with respective senators. Honorable Speaker, 1 statement sought by yours truly, Samson Cherargei, MP, on the status of digitization of government services was considered by the committee and resolved to invite all ministries, departments, and agencies called MDAs to appraise the committee on the status and implementation of digitization of government services under their respective mandate. Inquiries to county visit. Honorable Speaker, under the current period, the committee has conducted county oversight and networking engagement visit in its process of considering the inquiry into the operation of information management, information financial management information system, IFIMIS, and other county revenue collection and management system in 4 counties, namely Nakuru, Narok, Kericho, and Kakamega counties. Honorable Speaker, the committee is particularly interested in presentations on each county revenue collection and management system, focusing on system overview, integration with IFIMIS, effectiveness in revenue collection, key strengths and challenges, operational cost sustainability, and any planned future improvements with the aim of investigating revenue leakages through the county's revenue collection systems and avenues. Honorable Speaker, the committee held a meeting with the ICT authority to deliberate on the impact of county way leave, as well as regulatory and operational barriers affecting the deployment of ICT infrastructure and the expansion of broadband connectivity across the counties. Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, I wish to thank your office and that of the Clerk of the Senate for the continuous support accorded to the committee in undertaking work. Lastly, I wish to profoundly also to thank the members of this, one of the best committee, for their commitment, diligence, and contribution to assist the committee achieves its mandate. This is the best committee, followed by JLAC. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Cherargei, and also for admitting that JLAC is effective. We'll now move on to the chairperson, Standing Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations, to make a statement relating to the activities of the committee for the period February to April 2026. Senator Mwenda Gataya has the brief from the chair, and we will proceed to the dispatch.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm starting on behalf of Chair Security, Madam Senator Dulo, Fatuma Dulo, who also happens to be a close friend and neighbor. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56(1)B of the Senate, standing orders to make a statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations for the period of February to April 2026. During the period under review, the committee held 15 sittings at which it considered various statements, petitions, motions, sectional papers, inquiries, and stakeholder engagement as set out below. A. Legislative proposal and bills. Honorable Speaker, the committee did not consider any legislative proposal or bill during the period under review. B. Statement. The committee considered 34 statements during the reporting period. 4 statements were concluded, while 30 remain outstanding pending written responses from relevant stakeholders. A list of the statement is attached as Annex 1. But C. Petitions. On petitions, Madam Speaker, the committee is presently considering 2 petitions, namely petition by Senator Andrew Motato Okoiti, MP, concerning compensation of police officers injured in line of duty. Number 2, the committee is also looking at the petition by the Tomboya Ochieng, CPM, concerning forced disappearances from young fishermen at Lake Victoria, Lake Nakuru, National Park. The committee held deliberations with the petitioners and relevant stakeholders and is scheduled to conclude consideration of the petitions and the table or reports in the Senate. D, Madam Speaker, on motions, the committee considered resolutions of the Senate arising from the adoption of the motion on the current state of the nation. The committee engaged relevant stakeholders and received written submissions on the matter. The draft report is pending consideration and adoption prior to tabling in the Senate. On sectional papers, Madam Speaker, Honorable Speaker, during the reporting period, the committee considered the foreign policy of the Republic of Kenya. The committee concluded consideration of the sectional paper and tabled the report on the Senate on that 1st March 2026. On inquiries, Madam Speaker, the committee further considered 3 inquiries during the reporting period, namely the surge in violent crimes in Kenya cities, Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, and Eldoret. 2, firefighting and disaster management by involved governments. 3, Madam Speaker, preparedness and mitigation on measures in place to address starvation and loss of livestock arising from the prolonged drought affecting Asos region of the country. The committee is currently receiving supplementary submissions of the inquiry relating to drought mitigation and livestock laws and is scheduled to commence consideration of the remaining inquiries in the next quarter. On the matters of other activities, Madam Speaker, during the period under review, the committee further held a meeting with the Inspector General, National Police Service, and the Director of Criminal Investigations regarding threats to the security of Senator Fatuma Dulo, CBS MP, including a shooting incident targeting a convoy in Isiolo, as well as the attack on Senator Godfrey Sosi, CBS MP, at the west end of Mall in Kisumu County. The Cabinet Minister of Interior and National Administration convened his apologies and is scheduled to appear before the committee on 21st May 2026. 2, Madam Speaker, on the same other activities, the committee held a meeting with the Inspector General, National Police Service on the gazettement of Capital Hill Police Station, following which the committee resolved to invite the Prime Cabinet Secretary, the Attorney General, and the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of National Treasury, Economic Planning, to clarify the procedures that are taken in the gazettement process. Number 3, Madam Speaker, the committee held a meeting with the Private Security Regulation Authority to deliberate on its mandate, challenges, legislative gaps, and the proposal, an opportunity for cooperation during the remainder of the 13th Parliament. Number 4, Madam Speaker, the committee attended the Mashariki Cooperation Conference held in Diani, Kwale County in April 26 and held a report writing reaches to consider the draft reports on the matters before the committee. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, I wish to thank your office for your support according to the committee in undertaking its work. I also wish to acknowledge the Secretariat support received from the office of the clerk. Lastly, I wish to commend members of the committee for their utmost dedication and commitment to duty. I thank you. This is Senator Fatuma This is Senator Mwanda Gataya on behalf of Senator Fatuma Alandulo, CBS MP, Chairperson, Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations. Thank you.
The next is Senator Bogwa to stand in for the chairperson, Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism, to make a statement relating to the activities of the committee for the period February to April 2026. Senator Bogwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On behalf of the Chair, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56(1)B to make a statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism for the first quarter of the 5th session, covering the period between February to April 2026. During the period under review, the committee held 18 sittings, during which it considered 27 statements, 2 bills, and conducted 2 inquiries. The committee began an inquiry into the county aggregated industrial parks in phase 1. 19 counties had 500 million shillings allocated to the construction of the CAIPs, and the deadline for completion was July 2025. During this inquiry, the committee established that most counties received a feasibility plan from the national government and not specific to counties' challenges. Additionally, the committee noted that some counties had exceeded the 500 million allocation. The inquiry is still ongoing, and the committee will table a report upon conclusion. The committee is reviewing the process of leasing public sugar companies, namely Zoia Sugar Company, Chemil Sugar Company, Sony Sugar Company, and Muhoroni Sugar Company. Additionally, the committee is reviewing the repackaging of 27,000 metric tons of industrial sugar to domestic use without additional refining. Madam Speaker, during this period, the following bills were considered by the committee. 1, the Startup Bill 2022, Senate Bills number 14 of 2022, and the Cooperatives Bill 2024, National Assembly Bills number 7 of 2024. The committee considered the amendments by the National Assembly on the Startup Bill 2022 with the mover of the bill. The committee rejected some amendments made by the National Assembly on the bill. A mediation committee has been constituted, but the first meeting is yet to be convened. The Cooperatives Bill 2024, National Assembly Bills number 7 of 2024, is a bill that seeks to revamp the cooperatives in line with the current times. Given the recent challenges experienced by the SACCOs, this bill is timely. The committee has received communication from the National Assembly advising that the amendments from the Senate on the bill have been declined. A mediation committee to consider the bill will be constituted. Madam Speaker, during consideration of statements, the committee observed that there was an increasing number of statements pending before it that required the attention of the relevant cabinet secretaries and governors. The committee has therefore scheduled to invite the cabinet secretaries and governors to appraise the committee on the status of the pending statements relating to their specific mandates. The committee will prioritize the finalization of these pending statements and other legislative business before it. The committee will continue with its oversight of the counties through the scheduled county oversight inspection and networking visits and public engagements to ensure continued implementation of programs and legislative business within its mandate. In particular, the committee will visit the county aggregated industrial parks, tourism facilities, and markets in the counties. Additionally, the committee will finalize on the inquiry on the leasing of public sugar mills. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I wish to thank your office and the office of the Clerk of the Senate for the support accorded to the committee in its work in executing its mandate. Lastly, I wish to thank the members of the committee for their diligence and contribution during the committee activities and committee secretariat for their facilitative responsibility. Signed by yourself, Senator Isa Boy, MP, Chair of the committee. Thank you.
Senator Mugwa, thank you. Do you have the report from the CPIC, County Public Investment and Special Funds Committee?
Yes.
So that you can finish with it.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
You can make the reports relating to the activities of the committee for the period February to April 2026.
Yes, Madam Speaker, and on behalf of the Senate, the chairman of the Senate Committee on County Public Investment and Special Funds Committee, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56-1B to make a statement on the activities of the County Public Investments and Special Funds Committee for the period commencing 1st January 2026 to 31st March 2026. Madam Speaker, the committee examined 516 reports tabled by the Auditor General in the Senate as of December 2025 relating to county government entities for financial year 2024-25. These entities include county water service providers, urban areas and cities, municipalities, level 4 and level 5 hospitals in counties, special funds established by counties and other county entities such as the authorities and the corporations. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Article 2298 of the Constitution and following the High Court judgment affirming the mandatory nature of constitutional timelines in the audit process, the committee and the Senate at large undertook deliberate measures to align their procedures and operations with the aim of meeting the timelines. Some of the measures adopted by the committee include: 1, early resumption of committee sittings; 2, establish subcommittees to expedite consideration of the reports and request for additional resources such as additional support staff and support officers from the partner organizations; and 4, timely release of invitation letters to governors by December 2026. Honorable Speaker, the committee successfully examined all the Auditor General's reports and tabled its report for the 47 counties in the Senate, which were subsequently adopted by the House within the statutory deadline of 31st March. The resolutions by the Senate have since been transmitted to the respective county governments and the relevant oversight agencies for implementation. And the committee shall commence compliance follow-ups upon expiration of the timelines. This marks a significant institutional milestone as a timely consideration and action of the Auditor General's reports demonstrate that the Senate fully complied with the constitutional requirement under Article 2298 to consider and take appropriate action on audit reports within the 3 months of receipt. Madam Speaker, while examining the Auditor General's reports for various county entities, the committee identified several cross-cutting issues affecting multiple sectors and developed general recommendations which are comprehensively outlined in the summary report adopted by the House. The key challenges observed include: 1, water sector, persistent challenges in the management of receivables and payables, high levels of non-revenue water, and concerns regarding the financial sustainability of water service providers. 2, for the hospitals, level 4 and 5, difficulties in meeting the standards of the Kenya quality model for healthcare, particularly with respect to adequate medical personnel and critical equipment, and delays or shortfalls in reimbursement from the Social Health Authority. On municipalities and cities, ongoing challenges in the full operationalization of the urban areas as envisaged under the Urban Areas and Cities Act, including gaps in governance, structures, and implementation of delegated functions. And on county funds, weakness in loan recovery mechanism for revolving funds, undermining their sustainability, and the establishment of multiple funds with overlapping mandates. Madam Speaker, the committee encountered significant challenges arising from the strict constitutional requirement to consider and conclude audit reports within the 3 months. This compressed time frame limited the duration available for hearings, analysis of complex audit issues, and internal deliberations, thereby placing considerable pressure on the committee's operations. The high volume of audit reports further compounded these constraints. The committee was required to examine 516 reports covering county water service providers, urban areas and cities, municipalities, level 4 and 5 hospitals, county special funds, and other county entities such as authorities and corporations. The limited time frame strained the committee's capacity to interrogate issues with the desired depth and comprehensiveness. While the committee endeavored to maintain high standards of scrutiny, the time constraints occasionally necessitated prioritization, resulting in some less critical but still relevant matters receiving reduced attention. The committee also faced challenges relating to the availability and responsiveness of the key witnesses, including governors, accounting officers, and technical staff, which at times impeded the timely and comprehensive examination of the audit issues. Madam Speaker, I invite the Honorable House to critically reflect on the interpretation and practical implications of Article 2298 and to consider its deeper meaning in the context of effective legislative oversight. In doing so, the House may wish to explore mechanisms through which scrutiny committees can discharge their oversight mandate without being unduly constrained by rigid timelines. Oversight and accountability are, by their very nature, continuous processes that required sustained engagement beyond the confines of the statutory deadlines. With those few remarks, Honourable Speaker, I signed by Senator Godfrey Ososi, Chair, Senate Committee on Public Investment and Special Funds.
Senator Lelengwe.
Honorable Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56-1B to make a statement on the activities of the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation, Housing for the period commencing 1st January 2026 to 31st March 2026. Honorable Speaker, during the period under review, the committee held 14 sittings, considered 16 statements, 2 legislative proposals, and undertook 3 inquiries. 3 statements have been concluded, while 11 remaining under consideration. Responses to these statements are pending from relevant government agencies and county governments, and the committee notes that the delays in submission of responses continue to impede the committee's work and weaken parliamentary oversight. The committee concluded consideration of 1 bill and finalizing 1 other bill, which will be tabled on the next reporting period. Honorable Speaker, in fulfillment of the mandate and in order to comprehensively address the matters before it, the committee is currently seized of 3 inquiries, namely the status of Wilson Airport, the status of Talanta Stadium, and the status of Bomas International Conference Center redevelopment project. These inquiries address accountability and the prudent use of public resources. The committee will table its reports on the inquiries in the next reporting period. Honorable Speaker, the committee convened a meeting with the